So in this time of COVID-19, we're all trying to keep away from the polls and away from literally everything else due to social distancing. But you've seen the news about Sanders supporters and other Democratic candidate supporters of defending and demanding primaries, and they're wanting their state to have a primary because they think their candidate has a chance to win. Now, the question brought before us today is Iowa and New Hampshire, the sites of the first presidential primaries, do not demographically mirror the U.S. What's the solution to that? Well, I'm going to outline 3 solutions today. First, we can use online ballots, which subjects votes to external interference. Second, we can use in-person voting, which subjects voters to the pandemic. And third, we can use mail-in ballots, the best solution in my opinion, but also a logistical chaos. So the first way we can solve the problem of Iowa and New Hampshire not demographically mirroring the U.S. is to count votes using online ballots, which of course subjects votes to external interference like we faced in the 2016 election, possibly. Now, interference has obviously been on everyone's minds since the 2016 election. That's been one of the driving forces against, of course, having these elections online for this election year. The Daily Herald on May the 8th tells us that there have been huge concerns about voter fraud in the Democratic primaries already before COVID-19. And now we can't even gather to vote, and this pandemic is sweeping through us, not allowing us to go vote in person. So what's going to happen? Well, Oklahoma News on May the 7th tells us that Oklahoma has increased regulations on mail-in ballots, including requirements for an ID picture and a voter ID card. And this is a good solution. Well, The Hill on April the 30th tells us that experts around the nation have been warning about the risks of voter interference in the general election and in the Democratic primaries, suggesting that this online ballot system might not be the best way to do things. Now, a second way we could possibly fix the problem of Iowa and New Hampshire not demographically mirroring the U.S. is we can use in-person voting, as we've always done. Now, of course, the obvious problem with this is COVID-19, right? According to Wisconsin State Journal on May the 8th, 67 people got COVID-19 after visiting in-person Wisconsin polling stations a month ago. And how about now? Well, it's May the 8th now, 1 month later, and the pandemic has showed no signs of letting up. So, of course, more people are going to be infected, and this is not a safe way to do things. Como News on May the 8th tells us that many Washington state polling locations are encouraging drive-through polls and machine-only counted ballots. But this is still a logistical struggle, because how are you going to get so many electronic counting machines in just a short few-month time period? LA News on May the 5th tells us that many races and minority groups are raising a protest over voter disenfranchisement over in-person voting. Now, they're saying that they're being denied votes because of the COVID-19 situation, and they are biasing, the election officials are biasing voter requirements based on COVID-19 standpoints. And obviously this has been a concern for hundreds of years in America's history. How does voter disenfranchisement affect voters during a crisis? So this is obviously not the best way to continue doing things. But a third way that we can solve the problem of Iowa and New Hampshire not mirroring the U.S. is to use mail-in ballots. And in my opinion, this is the best solution, even though definitely not a perfect one by any standpoint. ABC on May the 7th tells us that states are switching to online ballots instead of traditional in-person ballots. And because so many of the mail-in ballots have been lost in the mail, they want to switch to online ballots. Now, this is one of the main detriments of this, because in-person ballots being replaced by mail-in ballots obviously have to go through the postal system. WCTV on May the 5th tells us that many states are changing mail-in ballot laws because of the fear of voter fraud and the huge inconvenience it could cause to their already overwhelmed postal service. And obviously, mail isn't getting here on time. Even Amazon has a post on their website that says you might have to wait a few more days for their package, something that's never happened before. So this could cause a problem, a logistical problem. NPR on May the 3rd tells us that national experts warn that mail-in ballot printing companies could be overwhelmed and not be able to keep up with the amount of ballots, especially during this short time of the primary happening. And this is obviously a big problem, because if you don't have ballots, how are you going to do it? Well, a good solution to this is, of course, you have companies that originally produced anything from staples to makeup now producing hand sanitizers. So you can make paper companies and other companies that are originally acting in a commercial sense, you could have them print ballots for you as well. Pennsylvania government on May the 5th tells us that nearly 1 million Pennsylvanians have applied for mail-in ballots, a number they've never seen before, and they expect will cause a problem. And of course, we can solve this problem in various ways, but the solution is still not a perfect solution. Pittsburgh Gazette continues that story on May the 8th, telling us that in the 2016 general election, there were a mere 68,000 mail-in ballots, and officials were already way too busy counting. What will happen to the millions that come into the general election and the up to 1 million that come in the Democratic primary this year? Well, they don't know. So let's go back and review. So the 3 ways we can solve the problem of Iowa and New Hampshire not demographically mirroring the U.S. is, first, we can use online ballots. Second, we can use in-person voting. And third, we can use mail-in ballots. Now, even though there's not a great solution at this point, we can continue exploring how to make online ballots more secure, how to make mail-in ballots less of a hassle, and how to make in-person voting an option again for 2020. Thank you.